Hey, hey, hey. Hello, Amber, and welcome, Eric, to Legion's Ladies Live. We are so excited to have you on tonight.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Amber, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good. So excited that all of these people have joined us. You want to run through and say hello to everybody that's here tonight so far?
Yes, we have Rob Zamora. We've got William and Dave Orkin and a couple more from Dave Orkin and William and Nitrom from Scotland. Hello.
Hello.
And then Jimmy. Let's see. And Kirby. Of course, Kevin McCoy. Curtis Ackerman, who has been traveling all week. Thought he disappeared.
I
We have
know.
Daisy Lynn. We have Darla Ackerman, the better of the Ackermans. No offense, Curtis. Jeff Evans. Heinrich. Lauren. Hi, Lauren. Collectible Fun. Joe Gonzalez. Santos. Jordan. Steph Ork. And Mark. Sean. And Brian.
Yay! Welcome and
Nice.
thank you guys for joining. We are so excited. And they're just here to see you, Eric. They're not here to see us.
Nah, I don't think so.
So many comments. There's no breath.
So a little bit of news that we've got going on. Some really cool things. Of course, Legion's Con is coming up. So many amazing things going on there. But before we get to Legion's Con, we have a big Four Horsemen drop on the 14th. And we're getting this guy here. Just what a stunning figure. In hand, this gunner, man, his paint apps are gorgeous. Amber, you have Kevin.
I have two gunners, actually, and I love them both equally.
So,
Oh, that's cool.
Kevin put.
Oh, wow. That looks good.
I mean, just a stunning figure. So if you don't have that yet, make sure to get on and order that from Store Horseman. Kevin brought it up here and was looking at Balaam, put his head on there, and I can't get him to change it back now. He's just left it. Of course, on the 14th as well, you're going to get to be able to pre-order the Graveyard Skeletons. It's a 4-pack. And Eric, if I'm not mistaken, they can order it from Store Horseman, but it's also available at all the retailers for the same price.
Yes. Yeah, it's a little bit of an experiment on our part this time. It's something we've been talking about giving a shot, and this was a great item to try that with. And it's a fun Halloween themed item. So I don't know. Yeah, just it seemed like with it being the price point that it is, and kind of having a general appeal to it, it was a good one to try to do the simultaneous release on.
It's amazing. We are so excited to get these in hand. Amber, I don't know about you, but and I don't have it up here, but did you see the photo of all the different colors that Jeremy posted?
Yeah. Yes.
And I think last night he said there's the red one and the green one and the blue one. So I'm just ready for my rainbow. I think that's going to be amazing. But this is gorgeous. I cannot wait to get it in hand. And of course,
I know.
the price point, Eric, that you guys are offering this for, and then all of the stuff that goes with it. And of course, Jeremy's show last night, and I think on the Cabal today, he posted photos taken with that mask on a bunch of different figures.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to figure out how many masks I need so for Halloween everybody gets a mask.
Everyone.
Oh, that's awesome. And then Jeremy also, I guess, let everybody know that they have a few of the Headless Horsemen and a few of the 2-pack of the Anubis and Bastet that they will be offering for sale at the same time on the 14th. And then, if I'm not mistaken, he said that the stuff that is in stock needs to be purchased separately from the pre-orders so that the shipping, you'll get your stuff that needs to go out for shipping. So, yeah, the 14th is going to be a big day. I'm excited.
It's a good mix of stuff. I know that especially the Headless Horseman's limited. So, be prepared for that. It really was, just like a warehouse find type of situation where we had a few left, and it's just the right time of year to put them up. And unfortunately, I'm sure there's not enough for everybody that wants it, but a few people will get one and have a good day with that.
Yeah, I would say that's going to be pretty, especially this time of year, the people that have not been able to get the original, the OG Headless Horseman and have the opportunity to get it. I imagine he's going to go pretty quick, but what an amazing figure. We don't keep him out all year long, but I tell you, at Halloween, there's no better figure to put out than him.
Right.
Kevin did steal one of the pumpkin heads to take to work because he has one of the skeletons at work. So he has the pumpkin head on the skeleton at work for Halloween.
Nice.
Oh, all right. And then wanted to shout out Chris and D13. Amber, what day is the sale going to be? When do these?
The 13th.
Okay, so the 13th. So that's Sunday. D13 is going to put the pink angel on sale, and proceeds are going to support breast cancer awareness, breast cancer research. And Jordan has been posting some amazing customs. Oh, at 1:00. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Isn't that beautiful? This one is from Jesse. And it's absolutely gorgeous. This one is going all proceeds go to breast cancer research and awareness. And then this one was posted, I believe, today, and this is Vans custom that is going to go up for sale as well. And all proceeds are going towards breast cancer research and breast cancer awareness. So I cannot wait to see. I think he said that there are some more. Jordan, you're out there. How many total customs are you guys going to have that are going to go into this sale when these go out? If you'll let us know. 4 other customers to be revealed. Awesome. Perfect. So we want to support breast cancer research, breast cancer awareness. October is the month to do that. So let us support as a group. And yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, Eric. Legions Con. Do you feel like you're ready? Or are you still just like your eyes are here as you're drowning in all the things that have to be done?
It's a busy time for sure. You know, I always joke about this, but you know, Jeremy posts up that countdown every week. You know, we joke around about it. I kind of give him some crap about it. And then this past week, you know, he went from whatever, like 5 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever, and then he dropped it down to 1 month. And I you know, opened up Instagram, and the first thing I see is 1 on it, and it kind of, you know, my stomach dropped for a minute there. It was a shocker for a moment.
Yeah,
but
he went from 5 weeks to 1 month really fast.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. Like, yeah, 1 week, you know, would not work right now. We would be in trouble.
Oh,
It's an interesting time though, because it really, like, it's like in the old days, like the big push for us was always leading up to Toy Fair, you know, and then things kind of cycled a little differently in the industry, where San Diego became such a big part of the, you know, the reveals for the year and everything. And then for us, it's kind of gone, you know, on its own track altogether, where Legions Con is our big event for the year. We don't do San Diego anymore. Toy Fair we've done, we haven't done, but it's not the same event like it used to be, especially from a fan perspective. So this is like when we were younger and in the industry, this is like our Toy Fair days, where you kind of go into a like countdown bubble with this stuff. And so it's equally, for me at least, I can't speak for everybody else. Other people might have a different opinion or relationship with this, but for me, it's kind of like equal parts exhausting and invigorating, because it is almost like permission to block out a little bit of the outside world and just zero in on the work. And so it's, I don't know, there's an excitement about it, but at the same time, it's, you know, there's a severe lack of sleep going on right now. So,
all the way up through the Monday after.
yeah, well, you know, and this year we're going out to DCon, which is the following weekend. So we're going to go, you know, Monday will kind of be a day of rest. And then I think DCon starts maybe like, I don't remember if it's Thursday or Friday. And, you know, plus like we've got guests out here that are, you know, out here till like probably Wednesday and stuff like that. So it's, you know, the party and or exhaustion is going to keep going for another week past Legions Con for us.
Oh my gosh.
You poor thing. Well, before we even get started, let me tell you how much Amber and I and everybody in the chat truly appreciate you taking the time tonight to talk with us. I know that it is crunch time for you guys, and you know, I just want to especially just heartfelt thank you. It means a lot that you take the time out and hang out with the fans a little bit and talk to us a little bit about yourself. So truly thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. I mean, that's part of the whole thing is it, like, we can't live completely in a bubble. Like, part of what makes Legions special, you know, I think for everybody involved, and that's including us, is that it is the community aspect of it. And so it is like, this is fun to take a little break from the desk for a bit and kind of, geek out a bit and, enjoy the social part of it. Which it is, it is such a big part of it. It's more than going home and opening up a toy and then putting it on your shelf or, doing whatever with it. It's, it goes beyond that. And it's that way for us too. It's not like we put a figure out and then just, go on about our business or whatever. Like we want to, it's fun for us to see how people react and, what they're responding to and what, to know what works, what didn't work. It helps us inform what to do next. And yeah, it's cool. So absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So let's get in our mindset. We're going way back. Way back. Where did you grow up, Eric?
So I was born in Mobile, Alabama. And I lived there until I was 9. And then we moved to Knoxville, Tennessee, when I was 9. And that's, I mean, I feel like the parts of life that like kind of shaped me a bit more were in those years. And that was, I lived in Knoxville from 82 or late 81 when I was 9 until 1994 when I was 21. And then from there, I moved straight to New Jersey. And then I've been here ever since.
So do you have siblings, family in either Knoxville or Mobile still?
Yes, both. Now my brother, he lives up in this area. He lives in Brooklyn. So he's more local. My father lives in the house in Mobile that I grew up in, which is, it's amazing that house is, still very much the same as when I grew up. And, we go back every summer and take a week there. And, I don't know, it's grounding to go back and just, it's, especially because like I said, it hasn't changed much. Like it's still got that 70s look and the brown paneling and the exposed brick on, and I don't know, it's cool. The city's changed a lot and the surrounding area has changed a lot, but that spot is very much like it was, when I was little. And then so my wife was born in Knoxville, and she lived there until she moved up here. And so her family is still in Tennessee. Her father is in Knoxville, and actually in the house that she grew up for a good portion of her life. So then it's cool when we go back, we stay at that house, and that's the house that she was in, like when we started dating and stuff like that. And then her mother lives in Morristown, that's about an hour out of Knoxville. And then that's the town that, her parents grew up in. And then, and she has cousins and things like that. But in between those two areas. So, it's still, there's a lot of reason for us to still go back and visit those areas. So that's, every summer we do a 2-week road trip. So we can drive down and do Knoxville and then do Mobile and back to Knoxville on the way back up.
That's amazing. I think, it's probably one of the coolest things too, to be able to take your kids and let them, yourself and your family, and let them see like where you grew up, and basically everything's the same.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Um, so this is going to be twofold. So let's think about Mobile and let's think about Knoxville and each one being separate. Like, what is one of your favorite things about Mobile? I mean, what is like if you had to think back to one of your favorite things about your city when you were growing up?
I mean, one of the things that I don't know, just pops into my head is that, like, I remember like Halloween's very vividly down there, and that time of year. And my birthday is on November 4th, and so I always had a Halloween birthday party. And down in Mobile, late October, early November, it's very very much warm enough to have an outdoor party. And so we would have my parties out on the carport, and my parents would get just Halloween decorations and completely just cover the inside of the cardboard, the carport with those cardboard, like the jointed decorations and the crepe paper, like fold out things hanging from the ceiling. And like that time of year down there was always cool. And it was, it was at a time where I just, can remember like our neighborhood, like the houses were close enough together. And it was just at a time when enough kids were in the neighborhood where it's just like you'd see scores of kids just running around and, checking out the costumes and all that kind of stuff. So that was always I don't know, that one just popped into my head. There's lots of them. But in Knoxville, Knoxville, like I said, that was more like as a little bit older, and I guess a little more cognizant of what was going on around me and stuff like that. And so, like one of the things that was great around there was the house we moved into, when we moved in, behind it was an old farm property. And in the front, like near the high, like the big street, like the farmhouse was up there. That was like a haunted house type deal. And then it was a giant field, and then it went into woods, and then there was a creek at the bottom of the woods. And like my brother and I would just go out and, like, again, it was different time. We would go out and explore the woods, the creek, like all over the place. We'd be gone for hours and hours, and it was just, there was just like a freedom to it. And it was safe enough that we could do that. And then eventually we discovered a neighborhood on the other side of the woods, and then that's where a lot of our friends turned, later on in life, like we met them like through playing out there and stuff. And Knoxville was a it still is, it's a cool town because it's a southern city, but it's also a college city. And so it's got that mix of, like, that a lot of that, the southern charm, I guess, and like, your close proximity to the mountains and outdoor activities and stuff like that. But then there's also kind of that, I don't know, like kind of cool college vibe that went along with things. And you get businesses and restaurants and things like that the university attracted to the area. So it was a good mix of like city and country growing up there.
Yeah, it's a neat little town. We've my husband and I have been there several times, and we really like the area. But I get what you're saying. We live in a college town as well, so it's very much, you know, very hip stuff. Things, restaurants, businesses, stuff here.
Yeah.
What were the very first action figures that you remember having as a kid?
I mean, it's some of the earliest stuff that I remember. Star Wars was huge. That was definitely what 5 or 6 years old at that point. So that was it came in at a pretty pretty key time. Just like my awareness of things. Micronauts were big at the time. That might have I don't remember if that was pre Star Wars or not. Mego was around that time, so I remember going in and seeing that kind of stuff. But also, like a couple of things that were early that were cool is there were more things that were like a little bit more one-off in the action figure world, especially back then. It was like where when Star Wars came along, like that type of licensing was at the front end of that thing, that type of thing. And so like Shogun Warriors were huge for me.
Yeah.
Both, in both respects. I mean, as a little kid, like they're almost as tall as I was. Yeah, they were big. And I just remember like getting one on Christmas morning and rolling it around in the kitchen and just, that definitely had my attention for a while. And like stuff like that. And the 18-inch Alien figure it still is awesome. It holds up so well. Stretch Monster, like it, and those were things that weren't as as much as what we consider a traditional action figure now, and certainly not part of like a line of figures. But yeah, those were all like that was all in that kind of late 70s era before the 80s really kind of solidified like kind of the modern way of collecting and stuff like that. But it was a little bit more like a Wild West in that period where some of those seeds were starting to form, but they were also the remnants of the older days where it was just like somebody would invent a cool toy, put it out, and it may be a one deal product that came out and it had its time and went away.
Yeah, we have several people that have said Shoguns. They know exactly what you're talking about. Kevin said JJ Arms. Had you seen any called JJ Arms?
I don't know what that is.
So evidently it was a figure and he had different like attachments to his hands, his arms. And so, yeah, Kevin was, I think maybe Trevor had brought it up on a show or something, and Kevin and Trevor were like talking about it. And so I was listening. I don't know enough about it to be able to tell you, but
I will be looking it up now.
Trevor said.
Shogun. Yeah, Trevor. And then I wanted the large as but my parents got me a 4-inch instead. It's cool that you still have it though.
I was in that boat at one point too.
Yeah. And then the Monster Lab playset was my favorite 70s toy from Steph.
That's cool.
Kevin said $6 Million Man.
That was a good one too. Yeah.
Johnny West was another one.
Yeah.
Kevin's just going through Lone Ranger and Tonto, G.I. Joes with real hair. Okay. So Trevor said he was a real life detective who lost his hands. And so they created a figure and you could attach different things on his hands.
Wow.
What an idea.
It amazes me as long as I've collected toys and been in this, there's still things that come up that you've never heard of. I mean, which is awesome.
It is. It really is. And then Brian Burke said Space 1999 toys.
Oh yeah. I remember seeing those on the shelf.
Pictures of them.
Yeah. So we got lots of people in the same realm as ages as that kind of remember all of those things growing up. JJ Arms, when Kevin and Trevor were talking about it on one of Trevor's shows, I was like,
It's just
"What?"
a JJ
Yeah.
arm.
I was like, "What is
Wow.
that?" So he started telling me about it. Let me put you up here. Here, Solo Lambert. Show that again.
Oh, hold on, here he is.
Yeah, so
Wow.
he's got like a hook and
All
That's
kinds of stuff in there.
yeah.
that's amazing.
That's awesome.
Oh,
So,
that's good.
70s baby, that's right.
I
Okay.
wasn't born for another 30 years.
Out of the ones that you talked about,
40.
and obviously we have a whole bunch of people who remember those toys. Like, do you remember one or two that were like your favorites?
Well, I mean, I know for Star Wars, it was Hammerhead.
Yeah.
Like that was I mean that's still my favorite. Like anytime they do a figure of that, like I don't know, like it was just like such an unusual creature at the at that early age, where a lot of times aliens were like the Star Trek type of thing, where it was somebody in a jumpsuit with like a little bit of makeup on the head, or something like that, or even just let's somewhere even wearing a more elaborate mask like in Star Wars or something like that. But like the fact that like the head was extended out and like off of the body, and the wide set eyes, and on the toy just the elongated limbs and hands and everything, it I don't know, it spoke to me. The weirdness of it caught my attention, and I don't know in Star Wars if I know I never owned the original like Luke Skywalker or Han Solo or any of those, but man, that Hammerhead like went everywhere with me. Like it, and that the hand got so loose holding the gun that it like the figure, I still have it. It's got teeth marks on the hand because I would try to like bite the hand like back closed so it would hold on to the gun.
I love that.
Oh, that's awesome. So Trevor's asking, did you guys sculpt the sideshow Hammerhead or just the Bosk?
Yep. We did both of those. Yeah, that was we only did work for Sideshow for a short period of time, and this kind of has happened in a few areas where worked for them for a short time. Hammerhead's my all-time favorite. I got to sculpt Hammerhead. Bosk was one of my all-time favorites. Got to do him. Got to sculpt the Gamorrean Guard, which was also like for Return of the Jedi. It was like my top figure. Like I was waiting for Greedo.
Oh yeah,
Yoda. Like all these characters that were like some of my favorite figures. Like they didn't come to us asking if we could do a Luke or a Leia or an Obi-Wan or something like that, which they came to us with the good stuff. So I just felt like what how did we make this happen? Like this.
One of my favorite stories that Kevin tells. He had all the characters, but he had an extra Luke, and so he decided that Luke, for Empire Strikes Back, I think it's Luke lost his arm. So Kevin went out, and he was a kid, and took a magnifying glass and burned off Luke's hand where it was supposed to be burned off, so that he would have a movie, that it would be like it was supposed to be. And I was just like, Kevin, you were a kid. And he's like, yeah, but you gotta, I had to have one.
I hear that though, and to me that is the most kid thing you could possibly do. Like I just remember kids like getting lighters and melting their GI Joe figures, and like so they're battle damage and stuff like that. Like that's probably more playing with fire and stuff like that than should have been happening. But it definitely seemed to be a common play pattern back in the day.
Yeah. Joe Gonzalez. Then Luke became a detective with the attachments. Oh my goodness, that is so amazing. All right. So like, when did you start drawing? Were you drawing as a kid? Is that something that you've always done? Have you doodled? Did you draw? Like, where did that come in?
As long as I can remember. Like I remember, constantly having some sort of paper and pencil and sketching, and my dad could draw really well. He didn't go into that field or anything, but he could draw really well and he enjoyed doing it. And so, it was always cool. Like we had this big like pad of paper. I don't know, it's probably like 3 feet tall by like 2 feet wide or something like that. And every once in a while he'd get it out and he had those those like design markers that people used to do for, I know people still use them. They used to use them for like concept art and stuff like that. And like he would draw stuff and we would draw together sometimes as well. But like, I always loved it when he would do it because he could draw way better than I could as, a little kid. And so it was cool. Like, if he draw me like a Spider-Man or something like that, like it was awesome. And so, I don't know. I think like I love doing it already. And then I think, seeing him do it well, like fueled me further. And yeah, I mean, it just like, I used to get in trouble at school because I would draw all over my tests. Yeah, I did. There were a couple of, I remember my French teacher though, like one time I went in with my mom and like she was returning a test and, she was like very supportive of it. Like most of the teachers were, they didn't like it, but I remember specifically her telling my mom, like, that this is great that he does this. Like he did the test and now, then he can do this. This is cool. So yeah, I mean, it just always just has been a part of what I do. And it's a way of, entertaining myself. And it's just, yeah, I mean, I actually don't draw as much as I used to, but it's, it's always a part of what I do.
When did you go from like what age, or what do you remember like going from sketching and drawing into like sculpting, into like creating what you were drawing? I mean, how did that transition happen?
I drew and painted and did 2D stuff for so long. Like, I mean, the closest thing I remember at a young age was one time I tried to build an action figure out of popsicle sticks. I made a mummy and I made a backer card for it and I wrapped it in like saran wrap because that was the closest thing I could do to a blister card. But that was, kind of a feeble attempt back in the day. So for me, like in school, like in art class and stuff like that, it was always like a very heavy focus on 2D art. Occasionally we do like some pottery or something like that. And so really for me, like the true like transition over wasn't until I was in college. Okay. And it was when I got a hold of Super Sculpey, and it was something that, like, once I discovered that like that changed everything because I could sculpt it, bake it, paint it, and then like have it. Whereas up until that point, everything was like an air dry clay or something that never dried and just remained clay. In I always had the interest in like toys and statues and things like that. So it was the opportunity to make a thing, and after working in 2D for so long, that was so exciting to me to create like a tangible object that could be displayed on a shelf and could be painted and brought to life. So it was, I don't know, it was just like an entire, set of doors was opened up into a new world at that point. And it was, there's always the part of me that's like, oh man, like if I would have discovered Sculpey like when I was 10 or 9 or something like that. Same way now I say like, I wish I could have started ZBrush 10 years earlier, like, but you can't control that. But yeah, I mean, I was definitely like a late adopter of like the 3D side of things.
Gotcha. Do you remember like one of the first things that you sculpted? Like,
I remember doing a lot of, when I first got to Sculpey, like I was doing a lot of like very small, almost like miniatures, like gaming miniature size things, maybe a little bigger than that. And at the time I remember sculpting like some Star Wars characters and some Marvel characters, and I don't know, some like some random made up stuff. And then as I got up in scale a little bit, I started doing some of my own creations. And then eventually, like the biggest piece that I did, and it was what ultimately kind of worked my way into the industry with, was I was really into Spawn, and I did a Violator statue that was, I don't know, maybe like a foot tall or so.
oh, wow.
Which, trying to like figure that out in Super Sculpey and do an armature and make it balance and all this other stuff, it was really not a smart project to try to learn on. It was so top heavy. I remember at one point putting it in the oven and then going back to 20 minutes later, and it was laying down on the the bottom of the tray. But that was like the first big thing that I did. But that period was a lot of fun because I was learning the materials but also learning an entire new way of creating at the same time. I was really learning how to sculpt at that point. So it was, I don't know, it was a cool time creatively, just like it discovering something so new. And then something that really was more natural to me than like painting or drawing really ever was.
It's awesome. Kevin asked, do you still have that first thing that figure that kind of was your stepping off into working for McFarlane? I mean,
yeah, I've still got it.
Yep.
It's cut up in pieces because it needed to be molded. But I have the originals. I have like a painted, assembled sculpture of it. Yeah, so I generally, maybe to a fault, but like I generally don't throw stuff away. Like somebody told me that when I was young, like, you never throw your artwork away, no matter how much you hate it. You may regret it later.
right.
And so, I do that to this day, so I just stacks of papers and old sculptures and stuff. And we do that with our kids too. Like, I think almost every like sketch on a napkin or, fully realized piece of art in art class, like, we hold on to that stuff. They may not care when they grow up, but I'd rather them get to that point and then make a decision to do something with it than hearing, that piece that I did when I was in 6th grade, like, you still have that. And I don't, no, we threw it away. I don't want that to be the answer.
My parents are
Yeah.
the same way. They have so many things from like elementary school, middle school, high school, and college even. Like, they just hold it all.
Oh, that's awesome. Um,
It's cool though. Like it's definitely a parent way of being. I feel like it kind of goes either way. It's either we don't hold on to anything and everything gets thrown out, or you're the keepsake parent.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think my mom was the throwaway, and I think that made me be like the keepsake. I wanted to keep it all.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any hobbies now that have nothing to do with like action figures, or that is just completely time away to give your brain a break from what you do on a regular basis?
Uh, I mean, I probably the closest like I don't know if I call it a hobby, but I think that maybe the closest thing is like I think like the way that my family is very much like it's a work hard kind of play hard setup where just because of my job, like I work during the day, I work at night, I work at home a lot of the time, so work's always a thing. Laura, my wife, is a teacher, so she goes to school all day, and then she comes home and she grades papers, and she's the 11th grade dean, so now she's got that kind of stuff. And so we both love our jobs. Like that's one thing that is awesome about like the what we've been lucky enough to build. But it's also like I know so many people that don't take their work home with them, and their life like at night and stuff is different. um, but we also like I have a lot of freedom here, and she has a school schedule. So we get spring break, we get winter break, we get summer is open. And so like for us, like when we're not working, like we like with our kids were little, we'd go on adventures. And so we still do that, but now we're all older, and but like we all love like amusement parks, water parks, like all that kind of stuff. And so um both of my kids are old enough now where they both like will ride all the coasters and stuff. And like so that's like I would say the closest thing like to a hobby, because like when we're at home we're either working or we might go swimming or do some yard work or just catch up on TV or whatever. Like it's pretty normal type stuff. But it is like when the work is done, it's like, all right, we're gonna go to Great Wolf Lodge, or we're gonna go down. We get a season pass to Six Flags and go down and hit some coasters and stuff like that.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and it's cool too because like when you're there, like everybody for the most part, puts the phone away. And it's but it's a great because even my kids are both getting a little older, so there's more homework and studying and stuff like that. And so it's cool to just like really um unwind and like spend actual time together. I love road trips too. Like that's I mean, that a lot of people hate driving or don't like to be on the road. I love that too because it's us in the car together and in the hotel together and whatever. Like it's just I don't know. It's just like that's like special time together.
Yeah, growing up, we did that a lot. We would road trip. So we drove from here up into Canada to, um, Niagara Falls, and then, back down and stopped along the way and did lots of road trips. Road trip out to the Grand Canyon and back. So lots of different road trips and stuff. So it to me, that was always, a core memory for me, being with the family and doing those road trips. And so I really appreciate that you guys do that, and that's something that you enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, it has its moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, it pushes people to their limits at times, but the good parts are certainly make it worth the little tensions and stuff that happen in between.
Absolutely. Well, kids are going to be kids.
That's right, and adults have to be
And
adults
adults have to
too.
be adults. That's right. Oh, so what was your very first job that you remember?
So this was potentially going to be my answer to the last question on the show, but I'm going to answer it now because it is somewhat of a ridiculous answer. But it's really my first job was I was an elevator operator. Um, so
Oh,
and
That's so cool. Did you
and
wear like a fancy suit?
no, nothing that cool. So but the location was cool. So if you've ever been to Knoxville, or if you're familiar with the World's Fair in Knoxville, um, so my dad ran the Convention and Visitors Bureau in Knoxville. That's what we moved up there for. And we moved up in 1982 because the World's Fair was in Knoxville. And the landmark, like, centerpiece of that was the Sun Sphere, which is kind of like Knoxville's version of the Space Needle. And so after the World's Fair, it was pretty like the World's Fair site kind of like went into this like hibernation period, because you build all this stuff up for this like half a year event, and then nobody knows what to do with it. So eventually my dad's office was at the top of the Sun Sphere, and when they were moving up there, like, they were doing construction on it, and so they needed an operator to bring people up and down the Sun Sphere. And so it's like a 2-minute ride up, but it's way up in the sky. And so that was my job for, like, during construction. I did that, and like this was, I'm a high school kid. I had long hair, just like a skateboarder, like all, just not really the face of an organization. And I'd sit in there, and like, people from like city government, stuff like that, would show up, and I'd bring them up the elevator and wait up there, and then came back down. And it was a pretty easy job. My dad was the boss, but it was a cool job, though. It was a great summer because all of a sudden I had some spending money, and I could go to the movies and like pay for my friends, and go to Toys R Us and buy Turtles figures, and it was an interesting job. It was cool.
that's awesome. Like, I just think that would be the most fun. Just up and down all day.
Yeah. And it was cool. I mean, the good thing about it too is like people didn't come through that often, since it wasn't like fully opened up yet. So mostly what I would do is sit and draw comics, like, when I was in there. So, I was kind of like almost like double dipping there. I was, doing the work, but also getting to, try to like build a portfolio up at the time.
Oh, Brian, it was a good job, but it had its ups and downs. Oh my goodness.
Not untrue.
Oh. So we understand when you got into sculpting, and you said that kind of led into your working with McFarlane. So can you kind of talk us through like that process? How did that all come about?
Yeah, that was it was like, it's one of those things that I think that's the way a lot of us, like, that are in this company and in the industry, it was certainly not something that could have been planned. Like that's like the at the time, like I don't even know if there were toy programs at colleges yet, and pre-internet. So the understanding of the toy industry and how to get into it and things like that, it seemed very unattainable. And so I like, of course, as a little kid, I thought making toys would be like the ultimate job. And, I didn't know how it worked. Like, I didn't know if you wouldn't work for a toy company, whether you just worked for a toy company. So one day you might be making figures, and then the next day you're sewing dolls or doing board games or something like that. So even if I knew how to get in, I didn't even know if it would be something that would be as, I don't know, as rewarding as, in my head it could be. And so I never really seriously considered it through high school or anything like that. Mostly through high school and into my, early years in college. Like, I thought I'd be in graphic design, because that was like kind of, popular sentiment was if you wanted to be in art, that was how you made money. You went into graphic design or commercial illustration or something like that. And I got into the program, and I was a couple years in, was not excited about it. I just didn't have the passion for it that other people had. And so I started getting really into comics, and that was kind of simultaneous with the toy thing. And so I started drawing comics and, doing pages and putting portfolios together and going to shows and like trying to get in the door with comics. And, never made it to like the big stage with that. But like in Knoxville, I did start doing some independent comic work with some publishers in town. And so, we had some very moderate success with it. I think we did some good work. And, had a great time with it. It was so much fun doing it. But during that period, we went to a little comic show. I think it was like a Sheraton or something like that. That was, it was a room, you could see the entire room, and you would do a single loop around and you were done with the show. And so we got a table there. But at that show, bless you.
Thank you.
Al Simmons was there representing Spawn. And this was I think he had the Spawn mobile there. This was like the real early days of Spawn. And also there was a guy who worked for a local t-shirt company. And so he approached us about doing t-shirts. He approached Al Simmons about doing t-shirts for Todd. And he got both of those accounts there at that show. And I was a massive fan of Spawn, a massive fan of Todd. I was in comics like the time where there's so much excitement around first all these guys at Marvel, and then moving on over to Image and stuff like that. And so, just in working back and forth on these t-shirts and stuff like that, it just kind of eventually worked out where there's an opportunity where my sculpture of the Violator was able to be shown to Todd. And
Oh, that's cool.
I got a call and got offered the job to work at McFarlane. Like, it was so surreal. And to the point where I still remember, like, I went to school, I went to the University of Tennessee. So I lived at home when I went to school. And this was like I think at this point I was a senior. So I was getting close to graduation. And I get home one day and I walk in and I'm in the kitchen, and my mom walks into the room. She's like, you got a phone call today that you need to return. You got a call from Todd McFarlane today. And I'm a kid. Like, I am a kid at this point. And I remember, so I had to go upstairs and get on the phone and call him back. And I just remember shaking almost. Like, I was so nervous because And so, yeah, he's like, he's like, I want to bring you up here for Toy Fair. I want you. If he wanted me to do try a figure out, and then he wanted to bring me up to Toy Fair to meet. And so I've never been to New York before. Flew up by myself to Toy Fair in New York, showroom. Catching a cab, just staying in a hotel with people I didn't know, like all this stuff. So it was just wild. And but yeah, like I had the job nailed down before I graduated, and graduated in May, and then moved up in August, and then I've been in New Jersey ever since. So I mean, like I said, like there's no way like I could have planned this out. Like it was just this series of events that just I don't know. Like I just was so fortunate to be at the right place at the right time, and I certainly could like sniff out some opportunity, and like I never took it for granted, and did my due diligence on things. But I mean, I couldn't have written it any better than the way that it happened.
You could not have. And Steph asked the question that I was thinking and was going to go back and ask. Did your mom know who Todd McFarlane was when she told you needed to return his call?
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh no, she definitely did, because I was so into this stuff that my parents knew what was going on for sure. So she was more excited. I was nervous. She was excited. Like she was like, she knew something good was happening on the other end of that line.
Nate Strong, the toy gods had big plans for Eric, and we're all the beneficiaries. Yes, Nate. Yes.
I mean, I do oftentimes I feel like I'm doing what I was like put on the earth to do. Like, yes. I otherwise, like, I don't know what I would be doing. It'd probably be very, very different story. But,
well, the stars definitely aligned to put you where you needed to be when you needed to be there, and obviously have continued to align for all the success and all the things that have come after that. Do you remember the Spawn figure that you created that he called you on? Do you remember the first figure that you actually worked on and created that was made into an actual action figure?
Yeah, it was the Violator Bendy that was in Series 1.
Oh wow, okay.
Which is not my proudest figure. It's because it got altered. Like it was a pretty early introduction to the way the industry works, because it was altered in production and it did not look like the way I sculpted it. Like eventually it came out again, like with the Violator Chopper, and that bigger version looked like what I had actually sculpted. So like it was a little bit of disappointment early on with that, but that changed quickly. It was just kind of it was a weird figure anyway, because it was a unique take on a figure, like doing a bendy but with some articulation in it, and with the jaw and the horn. But yeah, it was cool though. Like it was still, it was fun to work on. It was exciting. I was still learning. I had a long way to go, but eternally grateful that Todd took a chance on me, because he must have seen something, because like I did not know what I was doing at the time. I look back on that stuff, and there were like seasoned professionals out there doing tight, crisp work, and like I was sculpting in clay that I shouldn't have even been sculpting in and stuff. But I guess he saw it, and maybe it was the fact that it was like a little unrefined and less polished than a lot of what was out there, because Todd does things in his own way, and maybe that was part of like what the appeal is. It was he with me, he could take his own, a different approach to making toys.
That's cool. Adam Power said, I have that bendy ventilator on a card. Got to get it signed.
Always happy to do it.
So is there a figure that you created, that you designed, that never got made, that you thought to yourself, oh man, I wish that had been made?
I know there has been. Man, I'm trying. That's it. Like I'm covering a lot of years here. I mean, there definitely has. Like I know there was. I think some of it's been gotten out there. Like there was a lot of DC figures, like when we were doing the DC Classics line. Not, I shouldn't say a lot, but a handful of figures that never made it all the way to production, or some of them even to being seen. There was some McFarlane stuff that didn't make it all the way. Like one that was, I can remember that was cool when we did the monster play sets. I did a Bride of Frankenstein for those, and that eventually got cut in the Dr. Frankenstein set and became that two-headed kind of creature. And I was like, I really liked the way that the Bride turned out. Like it was a nice contrast to some of the roughness and like kind of, I don't know, like brutal designs of some of the other characters. Like she was a little bit more elegant, and I don't know. I liked it was a different take on the Bride too. Like, because that was the thing with that, everything, like they were classic monsters, but we had to break the universal mold on it. So I remember that was an early one that was a bummer that didn't make it out. But there's, it's not a lot of times where things really get shelved, though. Like, or they a lot of times have a way the tendency to find their way back into another line, or like, a different incarnation
or a later release.
Yeah, exactly.
Which figure do you think that you worked on prior to the Four Horsemen starting? Which figure do you think was like your favorite figure?
Like back in the McFarlane days?
Yeah.
I did like the monster play sets a lot. I think just as far as like singular figure, like the two that jump out to me are the Poacher and Mandarin Spawn. Like they I love like sculpting animals and stuff. I like the elephants, and like are always really fun to do. So Poacher was that one I liked a lot. And then Mandarin Spawn was like really toward the tail end of being there, and I just felt like that design had a lot of just my interests in it, and like I really got to just do whatever I wanted on it, which that was one of the things with Todd. Like, even though he had a lot of control over things there was also a tremendous amount of creative freedom there. So like I designed most of the figures that I sculpted. And that was one, it was this nice culmination of like really coming in and creating something, that I had a lot of say in, but it was also like, as my skills at McFarlane were like at their most refined. So like I don't know, like it holds up to me better than some of the earlier stuff I did there.
Yeah. Jeremy said 2 of my favorites, and then
Nice.
Both of those are great. I still have Poacher. And then Rick Jones and Poacher's my favorite.
Nice.
So it looks like
got more for oh, sorry, I took that.
Love those play sets. Poacher and Mara were tops too. The Poacher is my favorite figure of all time. So yeah, I mean, you got lots and lots of people who are like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." If you had the opportunity to go back to McFarlane and be able to create a specific figure for that line, for any line that they were doing, whatever it may be, what would you want to create that you didn't get the opportunity to create?
Man, that's a tough one because I really got to work on like I was there for 5 years and I got to work on a lot of content over there. And really I think I worked on most of the characters in that world that I wanted to work on. So I mean, really, if I went back, like I would love to take like a crack at probably like one of the characters that I worked on, but like I don't know, would like to see what it looked like in the modern age. Like Tremor was one I always thought was cool, and like when I worked, there was the original Tremor, and then when I worked on Tremor, I did a very different take on it. It was based more on, I believe it was Mark Silvestri had done a piece with him, and it was more based on that than Todd's version. So like for me, like going back and revisiting some of those characters would be fun. Like, him, Overkill. I mean, even a Spawn, would be cool. I don't, I guess one that like I got to do a movie Malbolgia, but I never got to do a comic one. Like that would be a fun one.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even Violator, like after all these years to go back and do that, and like, I don't know, with all the advancements in the world of toy making and stuff, like, I don't know, like it's always fun to go back after a certain amount of time and revisit an old project.
Yeah.
And then, it's been like 25 plus years since I worked on those. So that, that span of time has gotten to that point. There's no doubt about it.
And you have grown a lot, as things have changed a lot. And Jeremy said, "No, don't send him back to McFarlane. We need him here."
It ain't happening. I don't think we have to worry.
Not going anywhere, Jeremy. Not going anywhere. We're just taking his mind back, not his physical body.
It really, it's fun to think about, but I don't want to go back. Like,
we don't want you to.
It was a good time, but it was its own time. Like,
right.
What we've got going on now is, the pinnacle of where I've been in the industry to this point. Not to say we can't even take it to the next level, but everything is like fallen into place in such a way where, I'm not looking to go backwards.
Not at all. Not at all. So 25 years ago, 4 Horsemen came about. Can you give us a little idea of that, like, conversation? Like, I mean, you're all working for McFarlane, and then you just go, well, let's start our own company. I mean, like, how did that thought become reality? I mean, how did one person thinking that, talking to the 4 of you, and then it becoming reality? How did that happen?
I mean, I would definitely say it was not a conversation. It was a process for sure. It was, I'm trying to think just like kind of where some of the seeds were planted. I mean, one of the things was like, you always would hear about people who were freelancing, and freelancers were making all this money and stuff. So, early on, that was kind of the first, like, I don't know, like little hint of that. That part, like, I think about it for a second, but like I was in a great spot at McFarlane, like, creatively, like I said, like, I had a lot of freedom. Like and plus McFarlane was the top of the game in action figures. So like, also like, why do you want to get out of this? Like, you're doing the coolest stuff out there. You know, I was lucky enough to have the freedom to pick my characters, to design my characters. Like, you know, it was a while before because those were rumblings I would hear like a year into being there and stuff. And it's kind of like, all right, yeah, the money I'm sure is good, but like you're probably miserable working for somebody else. But I think, like, you know, one of because Todd was out in Arizona, and then the New Jersey office was run by, you know, people that he had hired that had been in the industry for a long time. And there were two guys who ran the spot that were veterans. And so one of the guys, Tony, one time described what was going on with me at McFarland as being like, basically like, this was my graduate school, you know, after leaving college, because I did come in, I knew nothing about the toy industry. By the time I left, I had enough knowledge and experience and portfolio and everything to walk out and get another job and go in confidently. And so I think that I was there for 5 years, and I think like it kind of like the cycle reached its natural end, because it was also an intense place to work. Like, when I was talking about those Toy Fair, those run-ups to Toy Fair, the first year I was there, it was like 2 weeks running up to Toy Fair, and, you know, you'd stay until 11 o'clock at night. Like, it was hell on earth, you know, like. And then by the time I left, we would start, you know, Toy Fair was in February, you know, usually mid-February. We'd start in October, November, and it would be, so George, like, so we know George from back in the McFarland days, and George, like, even though he lived in California, he would come out like during the Toy Fair season. And George and I, there was a period. It was a lot of us, but but I remember there's a specific period toward the end where George and I would sit in the office in the morning and wait for rush hour traffic to pass, because we'd been there all night, and we would go back to my house. He would sleep on my couch. I'd go to bed. So we'd get there. Well, we get there when Laura was leaving for work, and sometimes I'd see her as she was leaving. There's a period where George and I would maybe come in and watch an episode of Pokemon, and then probably sleep until like 10 or 11 o'clock and go back in and do it again. And so, I mean, we were basically living at that place for months on end. And so it was, you know, it took a toll after a while. Like, the thing is, it was much like I was kind of saying with the way things are here now, like there's an exhilaration to it. Like, you were like pumping out work, and it was exciting, and you know, we'd have fun at the office and all that kind of stuff. But I do think that was part of it. Like, you were giving all of yourself to somebody else. So I think like there was like a bit of an exhaustion factor, a bit of the like cycle hitting its end. And then it was also just McFarland was getting into sports. We were not interested in working on sports figures. He was really starting to head toward that statuesque, like non-articulated approach. So they were less and less toys. We were toy people. We wanted to make toys. And so I think it just kind of reached its natural conclusion. And so, you know, we approached Mattel, and you know, we've often said, you know, the timing was very serendipitous. Like, we went there. We wanted to make Masters of the Universe. We wanted to make figures for them. They were ready to relaunch Masters. And I think at the time, because McFarland had this meteoric rise in the industry, and it was all the buzz was around McFarland. Everybody wanted to be McFarland. And so for a team of us to go and present ourselves and say, listen, we can do this for you. And we were really there were a lot of people have left McFarland over the years, but we were one of definitely, I think, the first as a group to go, and even one of the earliest, even people to leave at all. And so we were able to go in and, trade off of that cachet that we had at McFarland. And, again, timing was right. We just knew some of the right people to make the introductions. It was a huge risk. But we just felt it in our guts that it was the right risk to take. And some of those early days at Mattel were a little dicey. We were doing stuff like Hot Wheels play sets and Max Steel and things that were not really what we had been doing. And I remember getting stressed out, thinking like, we've effectively like taken ourselves out of the industry, because it was also, we were working on Masters pretty early on, but Masters wasn't going to be launched for a long time. And then once it was launched, then it was going to be longer until it was on shelves. I remember thinking like, we've just like taken ourselves off of the playing board, and like, we're going to become completely irrelevant by the time these figures come out. But again, the risk paid off, and it was a good move. But it had some so the early days were interesting.
Bet. Want to go back. I don't want to miss. Yeah, Eric LeBron said one of the most memorable figure waves from McFarlane era was Tortured Souls Wave 1. Wants to know if you can speak on that work.
Not really, because it was after we left.
Oh, okay. There you go.
It was like the last things that we did. We worked on the Sleepy Hollow stuff. We had done Spawn Dark Ages Series 2. Techno Spawn, I think was what it was called, was toward the end. Like Rob Zombie, Dawn, Danger Girl, Nitro Riders. Like that was all the type of stuff that was going on like in our last days there. Tortured Souls was very soon after we left. And that was like, there was a change there too, because there was always like kind of an adult edge to what Todd did. Like, we did, remember one of the things I always said too, like there was a point when we left, it's like, I've sculpted one too many decapitated heads. Like, like one, maybe it's gruesome and kind of fun, but like after a while, it's like, again, like it's you're kind of getting away from the toy thing a little bit too much. And so there was always like some flirting with that adult material, and certainly Spawn's adult. But then like there was a point where like it started pushing the boundaries. And this was after he left, but I feel like there was Tortured Souls and like the Twisted Oz and some of those lines where it really like took a sharp turn that way. It was a lot of like the I can't remember if it might have been Dorothy and that Oz thing. Like they were like, like very scantily clad and like tied up, and like the creatures started having their entrails hanging out, and like it just got very dark. Like, yeah. And again, like that was not like, it was, I mean, beautifully done. And like certainly hitting a certain market, because like, I mean, it was like really tapping into that kind of horror market early on. But I like, I like the fun part of toys, and like, we purposely like kind of kept Mythic at a very PG level. And it's not to say like I don't have a problem with that kind of stuff. I certainly appreciate it, but it's just kind of like where my like kind of like toy heritage is at. Like I'm so attached to like kind of the feel of what I grew up with. Like it's just hard to break away with that. And it's certainly a more thought out, mature version of that we do, but it still very much ties to that, that kind of childlike wonder and fun that's attached to it.
So you guys have your own lines. I mean, you have Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions, and Figure Obscura that you guys do as a company. But you guys still take work. I mean, other people come to you and say, hey, can you help us? Can you work on this with us? And like, how does that come about? I mean, do people just, call you guys and say, hey, can we do that? I mean,
sometimes it's a pretty varied, I guess, very varied ways of kind of like connecting with these clients. After Mattel Super 7, we worked with for a long time, and that was very much kind of this very concrete relationship, and that was very steady and constant. And then once we kind of lightened up on it, like Mythic really started to kick in around the same time where Super 7 was going more in-house. And so the timing actually worked out fairly well when we were doing a little less and less for them, but Mythic was taking up more attention at the studio and just more of the bandwidth. And so since then, yeah, I mean, it's sometimes it's doing a project for somebody that we've known for years. Sometimes it's a cold call. George has been a big part of bringing in clients, where George comes from the designer toy world, so he's bringing in clients that are doing things from like the art toy side of things. And so the type of work that we're doing for other clients, it's a very eclectic group of work going on, which and most of it is on a smaller scale. Like Super 7 was so such big licenses and just so much product coming out and stuff like that. But now it's more like independent creators, somebody getting into the industry and trying putting a wave of figures together, like they're going to do a Kickstarter. And it even the amount of involvement varies. Like sometimes we just will really kind of consult a little bit with somebody or give some advice. Sometimes we'll do full sculpting. We do a lot of just painting for folks. And then Chris will also do just run production for people. So all of that's fun too, because we got a little connection with people that we admire what they're doing, and although we don't have a direct creative hand in it, Chris is still helping them out in the ways that they need. So so much of the industry is relationships, and being in it as long as we have a lot of friends in the industry and a lot of people that we've crossed paths with, and those relationships tend to come back and grow into something over time. So yeah, I like the mix though that we've got going on now, because it's a lot of we've the action figure people that we've worked with, they're in the same sphere that we are. Yeah, they're independent creators, and they're doing similar things to what we've done. They're just in an earlier stage of it. And so it's nice to be able to step in and, especially with a guy like Chris, and he knows the pitfalls, and to give a little of that knowledge that we've learned over time, and, help the next person out.
That's awesome. We're going to take just a second. While we have so many of you guys on, we are super excited. Talking with Jeremy and of course having Eric on. We have been given the opportunity to give away a signed Skeleton Legion Builder 2. The guys at the studio are going to sign it during intern, and then we can give it away. Either if you're at Legions Con and you win, we will give it to you there. Otherwise, we will give it to you. I will mail it to you as soon as we get back from Legions Con in November. So my understanding is the whole studio is going to sign it for us, and so you will have a Skeleton Legions Builder 2 signed. And this has been the absolute most fun. We take him everywhere, and he is just a lot of fun. So thank you to Four Horsemen for offering this for us. Thank you to Eric and the whole crew at Four Horsemen for signing it. So if you want to bring that up, Miss Amber, we will start collecting.
Oh, wait, I forgot. Go ahead. Is it sharing already?
It is. It's okay. Go ahead.
The Meatless Man.
All right. So hashtag Meatless Man. One of my favorite things that D Amazing says on his show. I love it. So if you guys will start entering hashtag Meatless Man, we will give this away. We are going to talk to Eric a little bit more, but we will definitely give this away. All right. If you want to stop sharing that while they do that, I'm going to put the banner up so you guys can see it while we continue to talk, and we will give that away shortly. Thank you guys so much. We're excited to have that to give away. I know everybody wants one.
Yeah.
And especially this one that's going to be signed by everybody. That's going to be awesome. Okay. You guys, I don't know, we're looking at the market, and like, I know Mythics was the first line to come out, and I wasn't collecting back then. But kind of walk us through, like, why Mythic? Why did you go in that direction? What was the draw to the fantasy-based characters rather than, say, like the cosmics that came in later? Why did we start with Mythics?
I think, I think a lot of us, coming up with, through the ranks with masters over the years, we were very much in kind of mentally in the realm of fantasy already. And growing up, like, Masters of the Universe was such a huge influence for me. Dungeons and Dragons was huge. Later as an adult, like, my, interest and love for Lord of the Rings was rekindled when the trilogy came out. And so, I love fantasy. I love sci-fi. Like, I love all, just everything in the genre, really, like the I guess kind of geek genre. But when it came time when we came around to Mythic, we had already had some success with Seventh Kingdom and Gothotropolis. But they really weren't sustainable. They weren't sustainable lines. Like, they were. We hadn't really put our experience in parts reuse and just being practical with our line building together. So I think it was a combination of just of excitement about the genre and just kind of like just having a vision of what these figures could look like and you know what the line could become. But I think like it was also there was with like high fantasy knights, dwarves, wizards, like that kind of thing. There was a deficit of that in toys. Like the last thing that had really kind of hit the mark with that or close to it was when Toy Biz was doing Lord of the Rings. And even that was very specific to the films. And, you know, by the time we were doing Mythic, that was, you know, that was gone. Like that was done with. Whereas Star Wars was on the shelves. You know, there were other sci-fi things on the shelves. And so it's just kind of like this instinct that we wanted those toys and they didn't exist. And so kind of, I mean, we generally do just what we want to do as toys. Like that's, and it's been a pretty good, lead for us. And so it just, I don't know, like we could just see it. Like, it's just like, we just kind of knew, like it just, we had that feeling and, you know, we went with it. And I think, you know, early on, I guess also, you know, it was going to be a Glyos line, and Glyos leans heavily sci-fi. And we had just done Power Lords and Outer Spacemen. So I think also just like it, you know, for us, even though we were working on Masters Universe all throughout this period, from like an internal standpoint, it was a little bit of a pivot for us because we had been living sci-fi for a bit. So again, it was just one of those situations where like we had the you know that feeling about it. It made sense based on where we had just been and you know what wasn't out there. And it just, you know, and obviously, you know, it hit. Like there were people out there who were waiting for that type of figure to be out there, and you know, just it worked.
Yeah, they do. And like from when you guys, from concept to today, 15 years later, I mean 10 years, I guess that's 10 years. It's 25 years for the
Right, yeah,
company, and then 10 years, is it 10 years for 10 years
10
for
for
Mythic.
Mythic, yeah.
So 10 years has gone by. The span of 10 years has gone by. Like when you first put these out, did you think it would be where it is today? Like when you guys first released it, do you think it is, like, are you surprised at how well your line is doing and how much people have gotten into it and really love it? And I mean, is there a, oh my gosh, I can't believe we started this and it's here?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I was thinking about it recently because there's definitely been a lot of kind of reflection this year, and you know, a lot of just with the 2 anniversaries thinking back, and I think there's like the word that I would use to be, you know, for where we were at 10 years ago with it is we hoped it could be successful, you know, maybe something like this. Like that the hope was that, you know, if you would have asked me, you know, 10 years, like, could you do that? Yes, I hope we could do that. That was something that we could aspire to, but absolutely surprised at how not just the success of it, but the way the success has manifested itself. Because the success is not just the fact that the line is still around and that we can sell X amount of figures and stuff like that. It's really, the success is that, like, like people love it. Like it's part of their life in a way that it's it's yeah, again, it's like I said earlier, it's the community. It's the community part of it that again, like, and this is going back to Glyos, like what Matt's cultivated with Glyos is like he has this community around him that is such an amazing group of people and such an amazing relationship that he has with the people that are into his stuff. And so again, there was like there's a hope that could we have something similar to what Matt's done with Glyos, and I mean, the fact that it's happened the way that it has, and like, the fact that there's, multiple people doing shows, multiple people making the printed pieces, people customizing, people doing artwork. That's the stuff that like, there's no way we could have wrapped our brains around that. And even to hope to have, some sort of community, sure. But I don't think we could have visualized like that it was even possible to have to have a show like that, like a 2-day show that is based around this stuff. Like, and that's what I've even said before. Like, you do a show like on a regular basis, and Jeremy's doing one. This person's doing one. That person, there's multiple shows out there, and it blows my mind every time I get on and watch one that, each person can fill up an hour, 2 hours a show with content. Like it absolutely amazes me, and it's just, I don't know. It's cool. Like it's just so cool that. Because it takes a level of dedication and passion and creativity and everything that, like, I don't think I could come up with 2 hours worth of content. Like it's I don't know. It takes a different type of skill set and mindset to do that. But it's amazing that it happens, and it's all entertaining. And in fact that, I'm, just watching the chat, and that people tune in and they get on the chats and they get involved, and there's inside jokes, and, it's just like the fun, like follows, the Legion stuff around. You go to any show and there's a group of people having a great time. No matter where we've gone, like there's a local group that is there that just makes it more than going and being at a booth and trying to spread the word. Like the word's getting spread there and in a way where people are like genuinely enjoying themselves doing it.
The one thing that I remember, and Amber can back it up, I hear all the time, come for the figures and stay for the community.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the friendships, I think both Amber and I meeting and being friends, and then the friendships that we've made just in the community itself. I mean, these are friends that I know will be lifelong friends just because we met through the art that you produce.
Yes.
That you create and produce, which is unreal and unheard of. So thank you for that, because that's absolutely,
it's crazy to find out how close people live together too. Like you meet someone, they're like 5 minutes down the road, you're like, what, you lived here your whole life?
For sure. I mean, that's what we're in this area that we're at. It's a concentrated, with the toy industry is very concentrated here, but toy fandom is very concentrated as well. But then, it's cool. Like you go down to IshCon or out at PowerCon, and like there's there's these other, like, there's these pockets that are just as concentrated with, like-minded, people just having a good time with this stuff. And I don't like, yeah, like that's the stuff that, like, again, like I couldn't have anticipated that sort of reaction and effect. And that's what, like, it's people, like, on the outside, especially, like, outside of, like, people who are into to toys and comics and video games and stuff like that. Like when I go to back to school night or parent, whatever, and it's something like that. Like, people just don't get it. Like, and it's, they're just like, oh, collecting toys, okay, but, like, I don't think, like, they could never, unless they come and experience, they could never understand, like, there's, not only the friendships, but, like, there's people, we go to the shows and talk to people that come to it, like, us with these amazing stories about, like, just, like, hardships that they've gone through, and how the community has, like, kind of, like, helped them to move beyond that, or, like, given them just, like, an element in their life that where they can escape from, like, the tough day that they have and stuff like that. And I don't, like, that's the sort of thing that, like, it's people outside of it just don't get it. And you can't explain it to them, because it really is, it's a very special, a special thing that it's kind of, it's kind of ungraspable in a way, unless you're part of it. But I think it's, like, for us, like, it's like, really, like, I think so much of what we're proud of with the line is that it's gone beyond just a thing or a group of things, like objects, and it's like it's created, like, something real for people, which is cool, because, I mean, that's what, for me, like, most of my friendships in life are from the toy industry, and people that I've known since I've been in the industry, and still friends with it, but, lifelong friendships and stuff. And I feel like that's the sort of thing that's, like, happening to people who are getting into this. Like, it's the same sort of just that shared experience and shared interest, and, like, really the safeness of the community, and openness of it. I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking, like, I'm rambling now, but it really is, like, what I think. It's just that intangible, like, kind of thing, but that just brings it to the next level.
Yeah, you can't explain it. Like, there's nobody that I have been able to talk to that is not a part of this community that really at all understands anything about it. There's a lot more questions that we want to ask you, but obviously we're running a little bit out of time. So first off, Amber, do you want to, like, maybe pick two of the random questions and ask those, and then we'll draw, and then we'll ask the two final questions?
All right. I also have a giveaway for tonight.
Do you?
I do. I almost forgot about it. I have a giveaway we're gonna do for Legion's Con, or if you're not gonna be at Legion's Con, then we will ship it out to you. But I also didn't pull it up on my thing, but Legion's ladies shirt in a sapphire blue.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That is awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
So you would just get with me and let me know your size and everything, and we'll make sure you get it.
Awesome.
Woo! All right. Well, we've already got everybody in for hashtag meatless van. Do you want to just use that and draw twice?
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, do you want to go ahead and let's do that since we're drawing twice then?
Yep, I'll add it to the stage. And
All
we
right.
will draw now.
All right. This is for the figure signed by the first draw is for the figure signed by everybody at the studio. Again, they're going to do that on intern and get with me after intern if you're at Legions Con, or I will ship it out to you after Legions Con. So go ahead, Amber. Let's
do the draw. Ooh, who is gonna win? I love these.
I know, I'm so excited.
Stacy Lynn! She is.
We know she's going to be at Legions Con.
Yay!
Oh, congratulations, Stacy. So it will be signed at intern, and as soon as we get it, we will make sure that you get the figure at Legions Con. Woohoo! That is so awesome.
Whoa!
All right, I think you can hit the little back arrow up at the top.
I hit draw again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, draw again. Absolutely.
All right, let's do it.
All right. This is for the t-shirt. Woohoo! Legions Ladies
Woohoo!
t-shirt.
J-Mac!
J-Mac 77! Yay!
Yay!
All right. J-Mac, get in touch with Amber, and she will get with you about the size, and we will get that t-shirt to you either at
Yay!
Legions Con or after.
Brian
Oh, what a
said I
great,
won.
great,
He's
great.
so funny.
Yay! Brian, you didn't win. Stacy won. It was Stacy, not Brian. All right. Well, let's just go ahead to the last two questions then.
All right.
So, Eric, I want you to get out of the I am the creator, go into I am a collector. All right.
Okay.
Everybody in the chat, this is not what is going to happen. This is a collector, and we are asking a collector what he would like to have. You heard it here first. Okay. You're a collector, and you love Mythic Legions. How big do you want the dragon to be?
I tell you what, that's a loaded question. Am I a collector that has more display space than I actually have, or not?
I have told everybody that I'm hanging it from the ceiling.
Well, there you go. I mean, you know, that really it's funny because that's a real like collector dilemma question, right? Like I still have some kind of regrets some days about not getting the Java sail barge back in the day, because it's one of those things like I look at the size of it, like I know I don't have a spot anywhere in my house that I could put it, and I probably never will. And so like basically I would want it to be big enough to where it would fit probably like on the top of a shelf, like an IKEA Billy shelf where, it could spread out some, but at least it could fit like on a shelf, like where I like, it wouldn't have to go on like a coffee table or like some sort of special piece of furniture or something like that. That would probably be my, like my practical answer.
Yeah. So Cornboy told us that, for him, it would be about 3.5 feet.
I've heard those type of markers from CB for a while now.
Yeah. And then we had somebody that said, about, I don't know, a couple inches will be good.
Both valid. Both valid.
It's like,
I-
okay,
I'm
there we
I,
go.
I'm a huge fan of sidekick. So like a sidekick dragon, sidekick dragon,
Cut
mount
thread.
dragon. Yeah.
So,
Now wait a
but
minute.
yeah,
I have to ask though. I listen. I watched the CB one. I don't remember though if you made him specify on this. Did he 3 feet tall, 3 feet long, 3 feet wide?
we did. We
Oh.
don't.
Okay.
We didn't We didn't make him specify. But when he was talking about it, I was like, how big do you want it? And he said, well, ideally, it would be about 3.5 feet. And I was like, there you go.
I mean, no matter which way you slice that 3.5 feet up, it's a big dragon.
It's a big dragon. But, I have laughed and we have had the most fun with this. And when or if a dragon is ever released and we don't have this question to ask anymore, I think I'm going to be like, oh man, because it has been a lot of fun getting everybody to answer that question. So yeah, that has been hilarious. All right, Amber, you get the last one. What is it?
So, what is one thing that you could tell us that you haven't told anyone else? We love secrets here.
I guess I will say that probably kind of what I told you ahead of time is that my level of anxiety about answering this question outweighs like any legitimate answer I can give you. Like, because I've seen you ask the question before, like mentioning CBs, like CB gave like this emotional heavy answer. Like it's kind of like how do I follow that up? Yeah, so it's I mean, I guess kind of like tying back to that a little bit, like yeah, like it's like for me to pick out something that like I think is interesting enough about myself to talk about, it is very like difficult for me, and like that's what like Laura always gives me crap about this because like when we like I said like we go to like a back to school night or something like that, like and people don't like get it and stuff, like coming on here and talking to people who I feel comfortable with and like get what I'm talking about. Like I can talk about this stuff, but like in the outside world, like I can't talk about this stuff at all. Like, and so like that's like picking something that like is an interesting thing or that I've never told anybody. Like I'm just like falling flat completely with that. I'm not in this sphere of things. Like I'm a fairly open book. So worst pizza. I'm just looking. I just have the worst pizza topping. I don't know, anchovies, I guess.
Trevor said, "Just say you hate pickles."
That's not true. I love pickles. So maybe that's the answer. I love pickles. I got a delicious. It was what was it called? Pickle de gallo recently, and it was like a pico de gallo with a pickle base in it. So yeah, so maybe that's a good one. I don't know.
Where did you get that? Because I've never seen that.
It sounds
find that at.
Oh my goodness.
I don't remember. I would have to think about that. I don't remember where we got it. Whole Foods. I think it was at Whole Foods.
Oh, okay. Well,
and then my youngest Brandon now likes pickles too, and to the point where he will just drink pickle juice. And like the other night, we're sitting on the couch watching TV. I'm smelling pickles, and I look over. He's got a bowl of 3 pickles there that he's just going to town on.
I do the same thing. I eat the pickle and then I drink the juice.
It is good.
Makes sense to me.
Every pickle.
That's what I like on a sandwich instead of doing like olive oil, like oil and vinegar on it, doing like pickle juice over the top of it.
Ooh.
That's awesome. Joe Vasapolo just jumped on. He says, "Yo, what I miss? Any teasers?" Joe, you missed that Eric wants a dragon that will sit on top of his display case. That's how big he wants it. So that's the teaser that you missed.
If Joe doesn't know the teasers, we got some trouble.
and I just want to laugh at Rob Zamora. I cannot wait to meet you at Legion's Con. I have laughed at your hashtags all night. They were so funny, and thank you for posting them because you just gave me a chuckle all night. Eric, thank you so much. I am very good about getting off at 9. I get up at 4 a.m. in the morning on Friday morning. So for me, getting off at 9:30 is very, very important. So we're going to honor your time and mine as well as Amber's and everybody that joins us in the chat. And go ahead and say goodnight. But Eric, again, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for hanging out with us. And I have a bunch more questions that we didn't get to, so you're going to have to come back again.
I can do that. Maybe during a less busy time. But no, this was a lot of fun. So I definitely am up for coming back. And I don't know, maybe we could do, sometime after Legion's Con, and, we can talk about some of the reveals and stuff like that. And, but this was awesome.
That is great. We are super excited. Thank you so much. Lauren said Legion's Ladies shirt pre-order post is live.
Yep.
So that is awesome. We are looking forward to that. And we will see a lot of you at Legion's Con. If you can't make it to Legion's Con, please continue to join us. Amber, next show is David Williams.
Yep.
Yay!
Oh, nice.
David!
Yeah.
So excited. We're going to have David Williams join us for the next show. So that will be fun leading up to Legion's Con. And then we are live on Thursday night after intern for Legion's Con. So you guys, please join us then. Eric, good night. Thank you very much. And
Thank
to
you.
everybody in the chat and on the replay, good night. Thank you. And we look forward to seeing you at Legion's Con. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.